Okay, so good afternoon. This will be our discussion of your week 5 module. So this is your English time. Good afternoon to everyone. So let's proceed to our most essential learning competency and specific objectives for today's discussion. So class, these are the knowledge and skills and attitudes that you will acquire in today's discussion. So you are about to read the letter of the Prime Minister of Thailand to the top 20 richest people in the country mentioned. Okay? And then while reading it, you're going to take note of the values embodied in this letter. So right after you read it, I have a question for you to answer. Read the title and
PM's
then
letter to Thailand's 20 richest people by the nation. The following is a translation of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's letter sent to Thailand's 20 richest people following a special 10-minute speech broadcast on national TV at 6 p.m. last Friday. The letter was dated April 20. Thailand is facing a COVID-19 outbreak, which is one of the gravest crises the country and the world have seen. The disease has affected both social relationship and the economy at a percentage level. Now is the time for Thai people to work together on all levels, especially those who have strong knowledge, abilities, and...
okay, so this will be read by Cyrus.
Sir, yung next slide po.
Hindi, si Cyrus na to. Okay, Cyrus, go ahead.
Financial resources. This is why I am reaching out to you who are considered the elders of society. I deeply appreciate that many of you have already helped people in several aspects, but I must ask you to do more. Please use your abilities and resources to help die people who are facing one of the biggest obstacles in their lives in the fastest and most efficient manner. I do not ask for donation or handout. All I ask is to send me details of projects that you are ready to carry out. I also that those projects should reach all groups of Thai people and all parts of the country, as well as help them in any aspects of their lives in a tangible way. I also welcome suggestions as to how the government can help or facilitate those projects so they succeed. I would I would be highly thankful if you could send me the details by next week. Please kindly consider my request and thank you in advance. General Prayut Chan Ocha, Prime Minister.
Alright, thank you, Lumir and Cyrus, for reading the letter of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, the Prime Minister of Thailand. Now, I have here a question. What values you have observed in the letter of the Prime Minister? So the values that you can observe in the letter of the Prime Minister are the following: helpful, reliable, appreciative, open-mindedness, and unity. Let's proceed here. So we have here some sentences from the open letter of the Prime Minister. So let us examine it and answer the question that follow. Now let's answer this question. First question. Okay, what these sentences have in common? Do these sentences have a structure and purpose? Okay, yes, they have structure and purpose. And this structure and purpose are actually considerations in identifying the text type of a composition. So what these sentences have in common is that they all have structures and purpose. Now, so let's answer this question number 2. Based on that, what do you think will be our lesson for today? Our lesson for today is text types, specifically the text type. All right? Okay. Now, so let's proceed in discussing the different text types. Actually, guys, we have 5. Okay, these are the words you decoded in our decoding activities. Okay, so we have the narrative, we have the expository, we have the explanatory, we have the recount, and persuasive. Let's take first the narrative or narrative in literature. Okay, so what is the purpose of the narrative in literature? Usually, this text type, guys, is used whenever you like to tell a story or if you like to develop real or imagined experiences. Real if you are telling true story. Okay, or if your story is based on real life. Or imagine if it is fiction. Okay, if you are writing novels and I like composition. So again, as I've said a while ago, we have composition usually have purpose and structure. Now, its purpose, I have mentioned already. Now, what are the common structure of narrative in literature? Usually, it has a vivid details, and then usually that storytelling is clear, and there is what or there are interesting events. Okay, so we have here an example. Please read the example. As you can observe in the example, okay, it was what? Telling a story. Okay, it is actually telling a story, and the details is vivid, and the storytelling is clear. So this is a perfect example of narrative in literature. Now let's proceed to the second text type. Excuse me for that. The expository. Now, what is the purpose of expository? Okay, usually the expository text type analyzes information. So it dissects. Okay, it dissects an information. What are the different details it's being discussed? Okay, so it also investigates whether that particular information is correct or not. Okay, and of course, in investigating, okay, you are what? You're going to check evidences. So evaluation of evidences is also a purpose of an expository text. Now, what are the different features of expository text? Usually, it has a claim. We have discussed it during our week 1. Okay, so we have the claims, right? What are the claims? So that you can write your counterclaims. What are the evidences? Okay, so supporting evidences is also included. And it must be specific and precise. Okay, since you are analyzing information. And you must use data presentation tools. And examples of that are graph, diagram, table, and charts, especially in presenting statistics. Okay, so let's have the example. All right, so as you can see, okay, you can see here the features of expository text. You can see here the claim and then the evidences of the author. Let's proceed now to the third text type, the explanatory. Okay, so guys, the explanatory text type, the purpose of this is what? Its purpose is to share a knowledge, especially if it is new knowledge. Usually, from the term itself, explanatory, it explains, okay, a process or a concept. Now, what are its features? Usually, the explanatory text, okay, has a specific topic. It has a specific topic, and then the tense use is present. Okay, So if you are explaining a certain process or a concept, the tense must be present. And then there is a clear, okay, there is a clear and objective discussion, meaning to say it must what? So bias must not be present, it must be objective, and then it must be well researched, especially you are presenting new knowledge. Now, as you can read it, now as you can also observe, it is presenting a knowledge. It is actually defining, okay? It is actually defining or explaining a novel coronavirus. And the key features such as the use of present tense and then the specific topic can also be observed. It is also an objective discussion since there is no bias present. And as you can see, it is well researched. Okay, so this is a perfect example of an explanatory text. Now let's proceed to the fourth text type. The fourth text type is recount. Now, what is recount? Okay, what is the purpose of recount? Actually, the purpose of this is to retell a certain event or experience. Okay? So as you can read it here, the writer did not experience the moment but wrote about it. Okay? So that is a factual recount. Again, it is a factual recount if the author of the text, the writer of the text, is not the one who experienced it, but actually write something about it. It is actually a personal recount if the one who is writing the event is the one who experienced it. Example, for example, if a writer is telling about World War II, okay, and he's not yet alive, okay, during that time, so that's a factual recount. It is a personal recount if one of the soldiers who participated in World War II write something about the war. Okay, see the difference between the two. Anyway, so what the key features of this? So usually the events in sequence, since it's a recount. Okay, because again, the primary purpose of this is to retell an event. So the sequence of events is very important. And usually, if in explanatory, the tense that must be used is present. Okay, here the tense that must be used is past. Okay, and then you have also to include the specific people, places, and things described. And usually the part has introduction, recount, and end. Okay, now let's take a look at the example. Okay, so as you can as you analyze the example, it is an example of a personal recount of Eugene. Eugene is a 32-year-old nurse and COVID-19 survivor. So he's retelling us his experience when he had COVID. And actually, you can observe here the features such as the use of past tense. The events are also sequenced, and the specific people, places, and things are also can be observed. Okay, so let's proceed to the last one, the persuasive text type. Now, what is persuasive text type? What is its purpose and key feature? Okay, guys, when we say persuasive text type, usually this purpose from the term itself, persuasive, is to persuade. Okay, it usually what? Persuade the readers to what? To side on his opinion. Okay, so usually in persuasive, the writer is presenting biases, advocacy, or argument. Okay, now what are its features? Of course, you have a proposition and claims, and of course, arguments. And supporting details and analysis is also important because you would like to convince the reader to side on you. And of course, there is a need for evocative and effective language and powerful words, as well as call to action. Okay, now let's take a look to the example. So as you can observe here, the author is what? The writer is what? Is persuading people to break the chains of transmission. And of course, in persuading his reader, okay, he is presenting his claim as well as his supporting details. Okay, the verbs he uses is also powerful. By is using must. Okay, so he's using let us hope. Okay, so that he is able to convince the reader to believe his cause. So for that, thank you everyone. Let's call it a day. Good blooming afternoon to